This week, we dive into the high-stakes world of headshot photography. We're talking to a 30-year-old veteran who reveals why mastering client rapport and effective marketing for photographers is the key to running a premium business.
Welcome to Commercial Photographer, your guide to marketing, creativity, and growth. This is a podcast that helps commercial, brand, and headshot photographers navigate the competitive world of commercial photography with actionable strategies to grow your business.
Doing?
Oh, I am fine. Thank you, Sam. How's yourself?
Excellent. Very good. Yes. Just moved house, so a bit chaotic here. But we are here, and we have a brilliant guest with us. Our guest this week, Nick, is going to share 3 things that you'll learn from his journey in headshot photography. First, you'll hear the stark truth about the responsibility of a headshot photographer and why a bad photo can derail a client's career before it even begins. Second, you'll discover Nick's 2 proven techniques for instant client rapport and capturing authentic personality in your headshot photography. And finally, you'll learn the secret to premium pricing photography, moving from a high-volume model to a more profitable luxury service. So today, Marcus, we have with us photographer Nick Gregan. Hi, Nick.
Hi there, guys.
Good morning, Nick.
Morning.
Welcome to the show. Would you like to introduce yourself, Nick?
Well, my name is Nick Gregan. I'm a specialist headshot photographer, and I've been doing this for about 30 years. And what makes me a specialist headshot photographer is the fact that I don't do much else. I do headshots. I work in a very small niche, and I've heard you guys talking about the niche photography in the past, and I think being a specialist in a niche really works well because that's what you get known for, and people come to you because you deliver a product in a niche. You know, it's whether you're a fashion photographer or, you know, you might be a wedding photographer. If you get known for that niche, it really helps build your credibility, I think.
Oh, that's a really good point. And you, as you say, you've been a specialist doing headshots like 30 years, which is an incredible wealth of experience. And we're certainly going to be diving into that world of headshots photography in this episode. Let's just start off, Nick, if I may. Have you seen many changes in the world of headshot photography?
Well, I have over the last sort of, we've seen the change from film to digital.
Yeah.
And I used to be, when we talk about niches, I was even more of a niche photographer because for probably 20 years, I specialised in photographing actors, and that was actors at the start of their careers rather than the big famous sort of celebs and those sort of things. And so it was a very small niche. So in that sense, that market has changed quite a lot. We've seen a rise of people entering the headshot market. We've seen a rise in the quality of the cameras, which are now, in some cases, really sophisticated computers that do most of the job for you. And so what it means is that a lot of people can enter the market of calling themselves a headshot photographer without the experience, without the knowledge, without the skill, and not really the ability to understand what they're doing or deliver the right product sometimes. You know, anybody can take a headshot. It's just a photograph from the shoulders up. And we can all do that. But
that's what makes it, Nick, if I may interrupt, that's what makes it difficult, though, isn't it? Everybody can do it, I think.
Yeah, well, that's it. Everybody can do it. But understanding the difference between a headshot for an emerging actor and that of a chief executive officer, or even, and the purpose of those headshots, but also even nuance even more further down, like what is the difference between a headshot for a chief financial officer, for instance, as opposed to a creative director? You know, and do you do the same headshot for the same people, or do you make those different? And so there are subtle differences, and it's understanding what those subtle differences are. And for instance, if you're taking a headshot for a model, that's one thing. But then if you get an author who's a thriller writer, do you do the same kind of headshot for them? Or do you get an author who's a romantic writer? Do you do the same kind of headshot for them? So it's just trying to understand that market.
Yeah, I get it. And how do you make that differentiation? What do you do to make, let's say, if I was an author and I wanted I'm doing a moody book, how would you differentiate that from a CEO of a company?
Well, I'd want to know a little bit about you, first of all, what you do, the kind of product you deliver. And I'd also ask you how you want people to see you. because I think that's really important, that you give the client the opportunity to say, well, I want to be dark and moody. I want to be strong. I want to look hot and sexy, or whatever it may be. You give the person the choice, and then often the job of a headshot photographer is to deliver that photograph, but also offer options so that the client sees a different picture that might not have really expected to get. But then they've got that picture that's a little bit, oh, I like that. I hadn't really thought about that picture. I didn't really see myself looking like that. But it just kind of fits in with their market and fits in with their image.
Yeah.
So, it's you kind of have to do it on the fly a little bit, which is one of those things that. So yes, you have to do that kind of thing on the fly and be prepared to have a range of lighting, understand poses and what kind of poses are going to work. Yeah. Even though it's a shoulders heads up from the shoulders shot, the pose does make a difference. It absolutely makes a difference.
And it's all about definitely it's all about the attitude.
Yeah.
So I agree. It's a question of attitude, how you get the person to react on the camera. Yeah. It's a question of how you light it. And I guess that's also a differentiator between doing a corporate photograph and an actor's headshot.
Yes. So for I've got a little story. This might work. It'll describe how the importance of an actor's headshot works. I teach workshops and tutorials and all sort of things. And a young lad came to me, mid-20s. He said, "Oh, I've got an actress, a family friend actress to photograph next week. It's her first set of headshots. It's just easy headshots." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Well, okay. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about your lighting? Have you thought about her characters that she's liable to play? The kind of things she's likely to be cast in, her castability?" And I've said to him, "Have you thought about if you make the wrong photograph, if you take a photograph that's not really good for her, have you thought about the consequences to her career? That she might never get noticed, she might never get any auditions, and a year down the line she might think, I'm rubbish at this, I'm just no good at acting. When actually she might be brilliant, but just has a headshot that doesn't do anything for her, or the wrong type of headshot." And I for many, many years, I saw lots of actors come in saying, "This is my last shot at being an actor. People keep telling me to get a real job, but this is my dream. This is what's in my heart, but I'm not getting any auditions." And when you look at the photograph, you just think, wow, no wonder you're not getting any auditions. And so one of the best things I found, because I think headshot photography is probably one of the most underrated genres of photography, but I also think it's one of the most instantly gratifying because you see results straight away. And to deliver an actor with a headshot and then find out a couple of months later on that they're getting auditions, they're getting noticed, you just think, it's just the right headshot, just understanding the need of the person.
Yeah, and that's a lot of weight, though, isn't it, on a photographer? I mean, you're saying there, you've effectively got their career in your hands. And some photographers, like you say, aren't specialists in headshots. They kind of generalists, and they'll do headshots. And are they going to manage that?
Well, certainly in the instance of somebody who's maybe just left drama school, you do have their career in your hands. And if they don't get seen and don't get noticed, they don't get auditions. They don't get work. But if you do it right for them, it does make a difference. And then it's up to them and their acting ability. Yeah. So in that particular niche, you do carry quite a lot of weight. Not so much weight when you move to sort of corporate headshots, or if you're photographing models. Because, a model headshot's completely different because you create an image. You've got a lot more freedom there to sort of create an image which could be an editorial image, or it could be a really strong, aggressive image. You've got lots of, even beauty photography. A lot of beauty photography is headshot photography, but you have the ability there to use your lighting and be more creative, work with a makeup artist, and allow more creativity to come in. Some genres in the actors, you can't really be too creative.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. I get that. First, I know we refer to it as headshots, and I must admit, I really do not like the word. Actually, it sounds so. It just doesn't sound right at all, does it? Let's call them portraits.
Okay, yeah. Do you know? The funny thing is, for years, I always thought headshot photography was like a poor version of photography. It wasn't as good as a fashion photographer. It wasn't as good as, a corporate photographer, those sort of things. But actually, it's a really, really good and professional niche to be in.
It's definitely grown as a genre. I think, back in the day, we all knew about actors' headshots or actors' portraits. That was a vital part of their trade, as you've just been eloquently saying. But it's only the business portraits is quite something quite recent. And, and that, is that your feeling as well? Do you think is that something quite recent?
Yes, I think it is quite recent. And I think people are now becoming more aware of the power of the headshot.
Yeah.
And funny enough, one of the talks I do is called The Power of the Headshot. But people are, because of things like Instagram and Facebook, we're now becoming much more aware of the power of the image and what the image does and how first impressions count and how people make an impression on somebody in a split second. And it can take quite a while to shift that image around. Yeah. And so if you're a corporate, say LinkedIn, for instance, if you're on LinkedIn and you have a photograph that is cropped off with your arm sort of round somebody and you get a bit of your shoulder and you're smiling and you're on a beach in Bora Bora, maybe.
Or the wedding, that's always a classic one, isn't it? A chopped off of this is me, but it's my wedding photo.
Yeah. Yeah, but that says something about you. Yeah. And somebody forms an impression about you. So it's understanding. Every headshot, every photograph sends a message. And it's whether you understand and are aware of the message you're sending and if you want to control your message. So that's really important, controlling the message you send.
So it's almost, if you're thinking about LinkedIn, it's almost like you fill in your profile and you should be careful about what goes in there. You're kind of saying then the headshot that goes with that is conveying as much information, but also it does it much quicker, doesn't it? So not everyone is going to read your profile, but everybody sees that image and makes an instant decision.
And even if it's, for instance, something like applying for a job. So you put a headshot on or a photograph on your CV. People look at that CV and that headshot and already are forming a decision about you. Yeah. It's evolutionary. We can't help it. We do it. It goes back millions of years. So we can't help doing that, but it's what we do. And so you should be aware of that. And people are becoming much more aware of it now. And this is why I think the corporate headshot market and LinkedIn market, those sort of things, is growing. We've got to fight against the onslaught of AI. But still, there's an absolute space in the market for traditional, what I call myself an artisan headshot photographer, or I don't call myself that. I market myself as that, and that's how I think of myself. Somebody's going to pay good on the road and pay £8 for a loaf of bread, sourdough bread, as opposed to go to the supermarket and pay £1. I think of myself as like the artisan baker.
You're a sourdough.
I am he.
In terms of a business model, now Marcus, a lot of people in the corporate side might do like Marcus, a holiday brand shoot and stuff, which is obviously quite a lot of money. And on that model, you kind of need less customers and each customer spends more. So in your model, do you kind of need quite a lot of throughput because the amount you're getting from each customer is necessarily less, even though you're a kind of premium headshot photographer?
Well, funny enough, I changed the way I was doing business a couple of years ago.
Okay.
I used, partly in response to what was happening with the market and the actors, a lot more people were coming on doing very, very cheap headshots. And I decided that, because I used to do 10 or 12 people a week.
Yeah.
And that would be very nice. But now I found that I just didn't want to be competing and trying to drop my prices. So I just went the other way and put my prices up. Okay. And thought to myself, if you understand the value of a headshot as an actor, certainly as an actor, if you understand the value of your headshot, you're prepared to pay for an expert headshot photographer, which is what I am. And so I do less people now, but I charge more for it.
Okay.
And there's a guy I photographed a couple of days last week, and I photographed him before, and he said, I knew I needed a new headshot, but I knew I had to save up to get the money to come and see you because I know how good your headshots were for me before. Right. And in terms of the headshot market, in terms of sort of corporate clients and LinkedIn, I don't price myself low. I don't see any point in that. It's about, I think, in some respect, it's about valuing your service, valuing your skill, and what you bring to the show. And I don't like to photograph anybody. My ideal session is a 2-hour session for an actor, and I can do a corporate client would be an hour session.
Yeah.
But I know other photographers who do them in 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and that doesn't work for me. What really works for me is chatting to somebody, getting their personality across. And I've got a couple of, this might work for you people, your guys. I've got 2 techniques I use.
Okay.
One called rapid rapport, which is a way of establishing a very quick rapport with your client and placing you in a position of, not authority is the wrong word, but competence and confidence in their eyes. And the other thing I use is a thing called the headshot conversation, which is a technique that involves 3 elements. And I think if you're having the headshot conversation, which is the conversation with the photographer and the client, but then ultimately it's the headshot, the conversation between the viewer of the photograph and the person in the photograph. So, you start with the conversation between you and your client, but then you're bypassed. And so it's the end result and the conversation they're having with the person who looks at it. And it's about what I was talking about a few minutes ago, that first impression.
Yeah.
Are you quoting there from, or drawing on from John Berger's book, The Ways of Seeing, about how the people...
No,
okay.
No, I don't know that, and I don't know it. No.
Okay.
It's just something that I've developed over the years, and I think that, and I have. If I'm photographing an actor, I have a very set technique I go through.
Okay.
To make them look in the right place, to make them connect with me, and just start making them express their personality and those sort of things. And I repeat it because I know it works. And if I'm working, there are sometimes when I work with celebrities, and I only have 2 or 3 minutes. And very quickly, I've got to establish my credibility with these people so that they pay attention to me. And I've photographed, people in 20 seconds and done fantastic headshots for them. But I might spend a minute or 2 minutes talking to them first. So I think that's really, really important.
Yeah. And I think, photographing an actor who is probably used to being photographed, or is that certainly they're part of their stock in trade, has got to be a different attitude to photographing a business person who doesn't want to be photographed.
Do you know something? I think they're very similar because most actors hate being in front of the camera.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Same as everyone else. Same as the rest of us, largely. Yeah.
If you put an actor on stage in front of 800 people, they love it. They're in their element.
Yeah.
If you put them on a film set in front of 30 or 40 people, they're absolutely fine. But one-to-one in front of the camera, it's different because suddenly it's a thing that I call the cloak of character. Their cloak of character is gone and they're really sort of bearing the bones. And one of the techniques I use is just, I give them scenarios. I behave like a director and suddenly they start responding because that's what they're trained to do.
Back in their element.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're back performing.
Yeah,
and
which is what they like doing, so they're relaxed.
And with somebody like a chief executive, for instance, you often don't have a lot of time. You've got to try and work out what they want. And I still use scenarios with them because everybody's got these scenarios. Like, for instance, we've all been stood in a bar and seen somebody looking at us and you kind of meet their eyes and you go, oh, hello. We've all been in that we've all been in that kind of situation. And so we can relate to that. And if you can place that scenario in somebody's eyes or in their mind, suddenly for a couple of split seconds, they go into that situation. And if you capture the photograph, then you've got a person, character and personality and emotion going on.
Amazing. Right, I want to pick up on a couple of things we were talking about a little while ago. First, a really quick one. Has it worked business-wise moving from to the higher pricing? Has that been a success?
Yes, it has. I'm not as busy as I was, which I'm very happy about. Because there's lots of extra work done, and I don't retouch anywhere near as many photographs as I used to. So I'm very happy. I'm probably making about the same kind of money. So I'm good.
So, okay, that's excellent. So, I mean, it's interesting as we've talked to that a few times, haven't we, Marcus, with other genres too, about, because Marcus, I think, has talked a few times about there seems to be a lot of photographers coming into the market, and we've talked a lot. Yeah, one of the ways to differentiate there is just put those prices up. There is no point being with this mass of photographers at the bottom competing.
Quite right. Quite right.
It's a really good way to separate yourself. And kind of linked to that, you've put your prices up. So how are you conveying that value so that people pay that and don't just go, well, I'll go for the cheap one?
Well, I obviously buy my images. I think my images do that. I hope they do. I hope my website does. I blog a lot, and funny if I listened to your episode about blogging and thought it was really interesting. And it's one of those things that I've done for a long time. Yeah. Because I believe it's important to get your website up there. Now, it's even tougher now trying to keep your website at the top of the organic searches. And I've never used Google Ads and those sort of things. I've never really been into it. I've always thought I'd rather try and get myself up the rankings. So what was the question again? So
the question is, how are you conveying that value? That's fine. You're charging higher prices, so how are you conveying that so people realise that you're worth it, effectively?
Do you know something? One of the things I do is I don't have an online booking system because I don't want people to just book online and turn up. I want people to ring me and talk to me, at the very least email, so I can talk to people and let people know what I do, what I can do for them, and that I really am an expert. You know, I have a book on my website, which is called The Headshot Bible I wrote a few years ago, which is 50 tips to teach actors, 50 tips for a better headshot, perfect headshot. And I'm actually, funny enough, just in the process of writing a new one for photographers called The Power of the Headshot, helping them take a better headshot. But I try and pitch myself as an expert, and as I mentioned earlier on, as an artisan. I want people to understand that I'm not just going to smash and grab and quickly take a photograph in 30, 40 minutes. I'm going to give them an absolute luxury service. That's how I pitch myself.
And where are you pitching yourself? Where are you putting those messages out?
Well, I put them on LinkedIn. I use my website. I use Google My Business quite a lot. And I also have, in my website, I have a lot of very specific pages, which are local pages. So I have Headshot Photographer Wimbledon, Headshot Photographer Tooting, those sort of things. And they produce quite a lot of work. I also have some that are more central, like Headshots Canary Wharf, Headshot Photographer, Soho. And they bring in some more of the better placed clients, the bigger clients, and more of the companies. So I find that works quite well for me. That's the only real marketing I do.
Okay. So just to make it, Marcus, and just clarify something and let you come in. So just for people who are thinking how you do those pages, what you're saying, you've got lots of pages that are really similar. One says Headshots Wimbledon. One says Headshots Canary Wharf. They're not on your menu. Most people don't see them, but they're really targeted for that particular area. So when somebody does that search, your page appears.
Yes, that's correct. That's exactly right.
Just clarify that for listeners. Perfect. Yeah, Marcus, go on.
That's right. Well, just as we're coming to the end of the show, and you've mentioned about this new book you're working on, The Headshot for Photographers. Can you maybe give us three? We haven't really talked about technical, and this show we don't talk a lot. But let's have it. You're an expert in this, Nick. Can we give us three things for our listeners, and just imagine they're more of an advanced, intermediate to advanced technical tips you can do for creating that perfect headshot.
First one I'm going to say, which what a lot of photographers, especially semi-pro photographers, for instance, look at the light. A lot of people don't look at the light. They might have watched a YouTube video, they might have seen something in a book and think, right, okay, we'll use clamshell lighting. And they set it up and they just go. What you need to do is you need to look at the light and learn to train your eyes to look at the light so that you can see what it's doing to the person's face. And do you need to make any subtle adjustments to make it look right? That's the first thing. Look at the light.
The subtle adjustments, like, just using what reflector. Is it going to be silver? Is it going to be white? Or whatever?
Are you going to use gold?
So, Good. Okay, that's a great start. What else we got? Give me two more.
In terms of getting to know with your client, my technique, rapid rapport, it's a little more into it, but in depth in this. But essentially, you need to let your client know that you are an absolute expert at what you do. So that you need to present confidence. You need to take control of the situation as well. Just a very quick one. A very famous celebrity who's known for quite forthright opinions. I photographed them about a year ago, 18 months ago. And I was going through my spiel and they said to me after about 20, 30 seconds, "Oh, I've done loads of photographs. Just get on with it." So nice. I said they are known for their forthright opinion. And so it kind of threw me a bit. And if I wasn't confident in what I was doing and where I was going, it might have really thrown me and flustered me, but it didn't. I took 16 shots and they bought 4 of them. So I was very pleased. And I did it in 90 seconds.
Wow.
So take control. Take control is not the right word, but establish your credibility and your confidence. Yeah. And the next thing is make sure you capture some of the person's personality. Make sure their eyes are looking in the right place. They're looking at you. Talk to them and make sure they're expressing real emotion. You don't want a person standing there with blaring eyes like that. That scares you. You want the right emotion for the right. You want if it's a chief executive, you want confidence and competence. If it's an actor, you want a bit of spark of personality, a bit of character. If that actor is a comedy actor, you don't want a big cheesy headshot. You want a little more of a twinkle, fun in the eyes. You're trying to express personality and bring personality to a headshot. Those are the things I would say. They might not be actually technical in terms of lighting, but they're really important technical tips about what you need to do.
That's amazing. And then we've had other guests as well, haven't we, Marcus, talk about books and how much books do for you. That's interesting. And I think we'll maybe have to get you back on, Nick, and talk about all sorts of other things there. But there's much more to talk about, but we're running out of time, aren't we? Unfortunately.
That was a truly insightful show, Nick. It's clear that a headshot is far from a simple photograph. So just to recap for our listeners, here are the 3 things that we learned today. First, we heard the critical importance of getting the headshot photography right and why understanding a client's castability is non-negotiable. Second, we learnt Nick's powerful technique for achieving immediate client rapport, a vital skill in marketing for photographers. And finally, you heard why adopting an artisan approach is the best way to secure your financial future through high-end headshot photography.
And don't forget that you can get for free the Commercial Photographer Guide to Creativity and Marketing. After all, that's what this show is all about. To get your free download, all you need to do is go to our website at commercial-photographer-podcast.com/creativity. Let me do that one again. commercial-photographer-podcast.com/creativity. And from there, you can get your free guide from us to marketing and creativity. And Nick, thank you so much for being with us.
Pleasure. Thank you.
And Marcus,
thank you, Nick.
I will see you next week.
And I'll see you next week, Sam, of course. Be there or be square.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode. If you want to make sure you never miss a show, head to the website commercial-photographer-podcast.com and sign up to the newsletter. We'll be back next week with more practical advice to help you grow your business. See you next time.